It does look like we're just going to go in for the run because our puppeteer is at the gate. If Acrobat can get the dungeon... Ooh, beautiful bomb towards the dungeon.
Seems like we're going in for a rescue. What a beautiful dodge there.
Oh!
Transition though over to the graveyard, and that owl is going to come through just to ensure that transition does go off. Going to bait the opera singer into some bolting, waiting, getting back over to the mercenary and blinding that painting to stop looking for that entomologist and finding him eventually at the distance. That ball is now up and ready to be used, and oh my goodness, using the blink successfully.
But ooh, they're gonna go in for the flute pushback, but opera singer is following in close behind. Ooh, excellent stun right there.
Oh yes, that's a very good stun for the very beginning. Antiquarian able to gain some good distance heading into that lower broken area. Well, gonna pallet down as the opera singer goes ahead and gets back into her shadow form to pursue her. Oh, and before she's able to get her another hit in, oh man, that changed everything.
She's getting a hit before getting a rescue in.
Oh, and a very good use of the gun on the coordinator's behalf, getting some more time for that antiquarian to gain.
He is going to transition over towards the middle, but Hot Wax is going to
pursue that coordinator. The mercenary is going in for the rescue. He will definitely be getting there after half. Oh, but we will go ahead and down the coordinator with that attack. And we're going to use warp to try to get over to that gardener's chair. Most likely going to try to down her in order to get out. Alright, we're trying to land a hit on the gardener and the mercenary. The gardener was able to recall and is currently getting out, but we are able to stun her. And with a fall hit, the gardener will be going down. And the mercenary is still... Oh! Oh, man.
really well played by Eddie here. Oh, and we are going to be seeing this acrobat in a web instead of a chair.
Oh yeah, that's a very interesting choice. We're going to go ahead and just sacrifice some of the webbing in order to go ahead and chair that acrobat right where he is. But the mercenary is going to go ahead and use one of his elbow pads to try and get this rescue in. He doesn't have any damage so far, but we were able to land a chip hit on the mercenary right as he goes to rescue the acrobat. But we will not be able to rescue because of that hit, and the acrobat will be seen. Everybody is finally caught up with the GIF, and the use of an owl to just go ahead and circumvent a hit as the seer continues to kite around this tight kiting area just in front of Big Top. Oh, but a flywheel just then. And a terror shock is actually going to counter that.
Coordinator to abandon the cipher, and oh, like I said, this unstable ground. Ooh, excellent usage of our flare gun to all while adding the magnetic block to stunt the decoding over here. It looks like we're going to aim for the Gravekeeper as well. Oh, and the beautiful pickaxe to chip the Gravekeeper twice and down here.
Exit gate opened up right away.
With a warp right. Oh! Unfortunately, Cheerleader wasn't able to make it to the gate.
Yeah, I would definitely expect to see a hook coming along sooner or later. Yup, there we go. That's going to be our first hook. But nicely done with the wax aim there. I do think we were able to get a little bit of extra on Patient as he flew, I suppose, as he hooked away. But we are going to see the drop here and just going to continue to use this loop. He can kind of stay here for a while. We're going to use that second hook just to get a little bit more distance. Just a little bit more wax trying, but no, actually, we got just a slight bit of wax there through that kind of Hail Mary of a wax gun there. But yeah, just gonna continue using this loop. Survivor's hard at work decoding, but 92% wax, almost! And we're gonna try and flywheel that, but unfortunately not going
to area over by the factory, landing a chip hit right away.
Yeah, very nicely done on that chip hit, and actually going for the basic hit as well. Unfortunately, not able to get that bomb here, but Seer in a very tight area. I would expect to see that owl pretty soon, at least just to block a chain bomb, but already off to such a strong start right as this match starts. And this is, the power of that bonbon, get up to the 3/4 damage. It just immediately, it looks like, missing that chain bomb, and yeah, we are going to see the owl here, so looking to set up another chain just to knock that owl out of the way. Are we going to be able to get it, or are we just going to go for the basic hit? Now you able to go all the way around.
we had tinnitus and then we lost tinnitus, and the female dancer is doing a very good job of trying to maneuver her way around the map. Now it is just a race against time to see if we have her in sight, we have the bonbon in sight. Come on, female dancer, will you make, oh, an excellent flywheel and a use of that deep, she made it. Wow.
That coming over the rescue is honestly a really good choice. She does currently have the slowest Dakota. Nicely done with the dodge on that spin there. We're not going to see a chip hit go through, but waiting, playing around this chair, looking for the terror shock here. Oh, and the double hit! Nicely done from
and land that rescue for the patient who was going to go ahead and continue to transition right up to the shore gate shack up near that big boat. He has one. Oh, and a blink is going to cut off that hook. Very well timed.
Can be very strong on that stop due to the fact that the airbag just blocks the entire way. So Opera Singer is going to have a little bit of trouble here. Yup, we are going to be forced to break that airbag and take the chase onto the fire investigator.
Now we are going to be working with only one airbag remaining, but that cooldown is off for it, so we can definitely anticipate it. Beautiful airbag to knock the Opera Singer out of her dash.
So we're gonna look to just send Mercenary across the map with this Cypher Pop, but it looks like I would say Opera Singer probably just not going to wait, and just a little bit too long on that pop.
Yeah, Opera Singer is going to be catching a ride on our roller coaster with our Mercenary. Now, of course, being at half health makes him vulnerable to this detention hit. And let's see how this pans out. Our third stop is not turned off, so it's just a matter of getting off.
Oh, nice. And Mercenary is...
Run, Florian. We're going to put down an airbag right away. We're going to push off the airbag and force the Naya to get out of her. Oh my god.
Around the area, trying to bait Naiad away, not wanting to go into, this is a lot of abyss here, a lot of water. Oh no! Not actually coming in for this, and Coordinator is going to go down to the water as well. We're looking at almost a triple down situation with Fire Investigator avoiding the hit a little bit, and the rocket coming in clutch, and getting caught in a second spike, missing the hit, and the owl coming out! But that Cypher is nearly primed. We are going to be able to Terror Shock Acrobat off of it. Are we going to pop it in time? But no, it's actually
the Coordinator is still in the process of healing. We might want to just go ahead and chair her, though she might be able to struggle free if we don't pick the right chair. Oh no! And sure enough, the Coordinator is able to struggle free. She doesn't have a flare gun anymore, so it will just be a rock height if she's able to make it, but unfortunately she goes down. But she's been coffined!
The coffin!
Oh
the
my
coffin
god!
in the area, all 4 survivors are at the gate. Highly phased teleport is not quite up just yet. I believe the gate is open.
Not afraid of those connections.
Nicely done with the stun, just to hold off a second longer, but and going to just continue right through that pallet. These pallet games are so scary, especially with a geisha, because she is very vulnerable to pallets, but a lot of the strategy is to just, take advantage of the survivors.
No ciphers decoded just yet. We did get a hit on the prisoner, but we are going to use a stun to get him out of attack recovery, and a blink to down that prisoner. Very well done. Are we going to go ahead? Looks like we are going to go ahead and continue to pursue that first officer, try and get that double down while we can. Very well played on this clown's behalf.
And that mind game! Beautiful prediction there.
Novelist was chaired down in basement, so everything on the surface is still up for grabs.
Nicely done with that blink.
Currently just trying to keep an eye on these different ciphers here. I believe he does know where she is. It looks like we are going to try to go through, get a pickaxe.
It's going to be utilized on this embalmer who does vault the pallet they dropped down earlier. Ooh, beautiful flywheel. But unfortunately we are going to get down after this. And this Opera Singer is going to catch up to this perfumer just in time. We are going to be having the owl on the perfumer. We're gonna blink and perfume that.
It seems like we're gonna try and stagger him as much as we possibly can. We do have warp online to cut him off here, or to get a little bit closer to the chair. Getting a wonderful terror, and maybe not even being able to. What a terror! We will be seeing the Coordinator struggling out, maybe shooting, and getting the first officer off the chair.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful rescue coming off of this board.
But it does look like we're just gonna go in for the run because our puppeteer is at the gate. If Acrobat can get the dungeon, ooh, beautiful bomb towards the dungeon.
It seems like we're going in for a rescue. What a beautiful dodge there.
Oh,
Transition though over to the graveyard, and that owl is going to come through just to ensure that transition does go off. Going to bait the opera singer in from into some bolting, waiting, getting back over to the mercenary and landing that painting to stop looking for that entomologist and finding him eventually at the distance. That ball is now up and ready to be used, and oh my goodness, using the blink successfully.
but ooh, they're gonna go in for the flute pushback, but opera singer is following in close behind. Ooh, excellent stun right there.
Oh yes, that's a very good stun for the very beginning. Antiquarian able to gain some good distance heading into that lower broken area. Well, gonna pallet down as the opera singer goes ahead and gets back into her shadow form to pursue her. Oh, and before she's able to get her another hit in, the oh man, that changed everything.
He's getting a hit before getting the rescue.
Oh, and a very good use of the gun on the coordinator's behalf, getting some more time for that antiquarian to gain some
He is going to transition over towards the middle, but Hot Wax is going to
pursue that coordinator. The mercenary is going in for the rescue. He will definitely be getting there after half. Oh, but we will go ahead and down the coordinator with that attack. And we're going to use Warp to try to get over to that gardener's chair. Most likely going to try to down her in order to get out. Alright, we're trying to land a hit on the gardener and the mercenary. The gardener was able to recall and is currently getting out, but we are able to stun her. And with a fall hit, the gardener will be going down. And the mercenary is still... Oh! Oh, man.
really well played by Eddie here. Oh, and we are going to be seeing this acrobat in a web instead of a chair.
Oh yeah, that's a very interesting choice. We're gonna go ahead and just sacrifice some of the webbing in order to go ahead and chair that acrobat right where he is. But the mercenary is gonna go ahead and use one of his elbow pads to try and get this rescue in. He doesn't have any damage so far, but we were able to land a chip hit on the mercenary right as he goes to rescue the acrobat. But we will not be able to rescue because of that hit, and the acrobat will be seen. Everybody is finally caught up with the if, and the use of an owl to just go ahead and circumvent a hit as the seer continues to kite around this tight kiting area just in front of the big top. Oh, but a flywheel just then. And a terror shock is actually going to counter that.
Coordinator to abandon the site for an ult. Like I said, this unstable ground. Ooh, excellent usage of our flare gun to all while adding the magnetic block to stunt the decoding over here. It looks like we're gonna aim for the Gravekeeper as well. Oh, and the beautiful pickaxe to chip the Gravekeeper twice and down.
Exit gate opened up right away.
With a warp right. Oh! Unfortunately, Cheerleader wasn't able to make it to the gate.
Yeah, I would definitely expect to see a hook coming along sooner or later. Yep, there we go. That's going to be our first hook. But nicely done with the wax aim there. I do think we were able to get a little bit of extra on Patient as he flew, I suppose, as he hooked away. But we are going to see the drop here and just going to continue to use this loop. He can't kind of stay here for a while. We're going to use that second hook just to get a little bit more distance. Just a little bit more wax trying, but no, actually, we got just a slight bit of wax there through that kind of Hail Mary of a wax gun there. But yeah, just gonna continue using this loop. Survivor's hard at work decoding, but 92% wax, almost. And we're gonna try and flywheel that, but unfortunately not.
Hiding area over by the factory, landing a chip hit right away.
Yeah, very nicely done on that chip hit, and actually going for the basic hit as well. Unfortunately, not able to get that bomb here, but Seer in a very tight area. I would expect to see that owl pretty soon, at least just to block a chain bomb, but already off to such a strong start right as this match starts. And this is, the power of that bonbon, get up to the 3/4 damage. it just immediately, it looks like, ooh, missing that chain bomb. And yeah, we are going to see the owl here. So looking to set up another chain just to knock that owl out of the way. Are we going to be able to get it, or are we just going to go for the basic hit? Nice, let's go all the way around.
We had Tinnitus and then we lost Tinnitus, and the female dancer is doing a very good job of trying to maneuver her way around the map. Now it is just a race against time to see if we have her in sight, we have the bonbon in sight. Come on, female dancer, will you make, oh, an excellent flywheel, and using that deep, she made it out.
That coming up for the rescue is obviously a really good choice. She does currently have the slowest Dakota. Nicely done with the dodge on that spin there. We're not going to see a chip hit go through. But waiting, playing around this chair, looking for the terror shock here. Oh, with the double hit! Nicely done.
And land that rescue for the patient who was going to go ahead and continue to transition right up to the shore gate shack. Up near that big boat. He has one... Oh! And a blink is going to cut off that hook. Very well timed.
Can be very strong on that stop due to the fact that the airbag just blocks the entire way. So Opera Singer is going to have a little bit of trouble here. Yup, we are going to be forced to break that airbag and take the chase onto the fire investigator.
Now we are going to be working with only one airbag remaining, but that cooldown is off for it, so we can definitely anticipate it. Beautiful airbag to knock the Opera Singer out of her
Yeah, so
dash.
we're gonna look to just send Mercenary across the map with this Cypher Pop. But it looks like, I would say Opera Singer probably just, not going to wait. And, just a little bit too long on that pop.
Yeah, Opera Singer is going to be catching a ride on our roller coaster with our Mercenary. Now, of course, being at half health makes him vulnerable to this detention hit. And let's see how this pans out. Our third stop is not turned off, so it's just a matter of getting off.
Oh! Nice. And Mercenary is...
Run, Florian! Oh, we're going to put down an airbag right away. We're gonna push off the airbag and force the Naya to get out of her swimming. Oh my
Run
god.
around the area trying to bait Naiad away, not wanting to go into, this is a lot of abyss here, a lot of water. Oh no! Clown actually coming in for this, and Coordinator is going to go down to the water as well. We're looking at almost a triple down situation with Fire Investigator avoiding the hit a little bit, and the rocket coming in clutch. And getting caught in a second spike, missing the hit, and the owl coming out! Hit on, but that Cypher is nearly primed. We are going to be able to Terror Shock Acrobat off of it. Are we going to pop it in time? But no, it's actually
Coordinator is still in the process of healing. We might want to just go ahead and chair her, though she might be able to struggle free if we don't pick the right chair. Oh no! And sure enough, the Coordinator is able to struggle free. She doesn't have a flare gun anymore, so it will just be a rock height if she's able to make it, but unfortunately she goes down. But she's been coffined!
The coffin.
Oh
the
my
coffin
god!
in the area. All 4 survivors are at a gate. Smiley face teleport is not quite up just yet. I believe the gate is open.
Not afraid of those
continuing.
connections.
Nicely done with the stun, just to hold off a second longer, but and going to just continue right through that pallet. These pallet games are so scary, especially with a geisha, because she is very vulnerable to pallets, but a lot of the strategy is to just, take advantage of the survivors knowing.
No ciphers decoded just yet. We did get a hit on the prisoner, but we are going to use a stun to get him out of attack recovery, and a blink to down that prisoner. Very well done. Are we going to go ahead? Looks like we are going to go ahead and continue to pursue that first officer, try and get that double down while we can. Very well played on this clown's behalf.
And that mind game! Beautiful prediction there.
Novelist was chaired down in basement, so everything on the surface is still up for grabs.
Nicely
very
done
good
with
use
that
of
blink.
Currently just trying to keep an eye on these different ciphers here. Luki does know where she is. It looks like we are going to try to go through, get a pickaxe.
It's going to be utilized on this embalmer who does vault the pallet they dropped down earlier. Ooh, beautiful flywheel. Oh, but unfortunately we are going to get down after this. And this Opera Singer is going to catch up to this perfumer just in time. We are going to be having the owl on the perfumer. We're gonna blink and perfume back.
It seems like we're gonna try and stagger him as much as we possibly can. We do have warp online to cut him off here, or to get a little bit closer to the chair. and getting a wonderful terror shot, and maybe not even being able to.
Oh my
What a terror shot! We will be seeing the coordinator struggling out, maybe shooting, and getting the first officer off the chair.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful rescue coming off of this board.
But it does look like we're just going to go in for the run because our puppeteer is at the gate. If Acrobat can get the dungeon... Ooh, beautiful bomb towards the dungeon.
Seems like we're going in for a
Ooh.
rescue. What a beautiful dodge
hover.
there.
Oh!
Transition though over to the graveyard, and that owl is going to come through just to ensure that transition does go off. Going to bait the opera singer into some vaulting, waiting, getting back over to the mercenary and landing that painting to stop looking for that entomologist and finding him eventually at the distance. That ball is now up and ready to be used, and oh my goodness, using the blink successfully.
But, ooh, they're going to go in for the flute pushback, but opera singer is following in close behind. Ooh, excellent stun right there.
Oh yes, that's a very good stun for the very beginning. Antiquarian able to gain some good distance heading into that lower broken area. Vaulting a pallet down as the opera singer goes ahead and gets back into the shadow form to pursue her. Oh, and before she's able to get her another hit in, the oh man, that changed everything.
He's getting a hit before getting a rescue.
Oh, and a very good use of the gun on the coordinator's behalf, getting some more time for that antiquarian to gain.
He is going to transition over towards the middle, but Hot Wax is going to
pursue that coordinator. The mercenary is going in for the rescue. He will definitely be getting there after half. Oh, but we will go ahead and down the coordinator with that attack. And we're going to use warp to try to get over to that gardener's chair. Most likely going to try to down her in order to get out. Alright, we're trying to land a hit on the gardener and the mercenary. The gardener was able to recall and is currently getting out, but we are able to stun her. And with a fall hit, the gardener will be going down. And the mercenary is still... Oh! Oh, man.
really well played by Eddie here. Oh, and we are going to be seeing this acrobat in a web instead of a chair.
Oh yeah, that's a very interesting choice. We're going to go ahead and just sacrifice some of the webbing in order to go ahead and chair that acrobat right where he is. But the mercenary is going to go ahead and use one of his elbow pads to try and get this rescue in. He doesn't have any damage so far, but we were able to land a chip hit on the mercenary right as he goes to rescue the acrobat. But we will not be able to rescue because of that hit, and the acrobat will be seen. Everybody is finally caught up with the Yif, and the use of an owl to just go ahead and circumvent a hit as the seer continues to kite around this tight kiting area just in front of the big top. Oh, but a flywheel just then. And a terror shock is actually going to counter that.
Coordinator to abandon the site for an ult. Like I said, this unstable ground. Ooh, excellent usage of our flare gun to all while adding the magnetic block to stunt the decoding over here. It looks like we're going to aim for the Gravekeeper as well. Oh, and beautiful, beautiful pickaxe to chip the Gravekeeper twice and down here.
Exit gate opened up right away.
With a warp right. Oh! Oh! Unfortunately, Cheerleader wasn't able to make it to the gate.
Yeah, I would definitely expect to see a hook coming along sooner or later. Yep, there we go. That's going to be our first hook. But nicely done with the wax aim there. I do think we were able to get a little bit of extra on Patient as he flew, I suppose, as he hooked away. But we are going to see the drop here and just going to continue to use this loop. He can kind of stay here for a while. We're going to use that second hook just to get a little bit more distance. Just a little bit more wax trying, but no, actually, we got just a slight bit of wax there through that kind of Hail Mary of a wax gun there. But yeah, just gonna continue using this loop. Survivor's hard at work decoding, but 92% wax, almost! And we're gonna try and flywheel that, but unfortunately not.
Hiding area over by the factory, landing a chip hit right away.
Yeah, very nicely done on that chip hit, and actually going for the basic hit as well. Unfortunately, not able to get that bomb here, but Seer in a very tight area. I would expect to see that owl pretty soon, at least just to block a chain bomb, but already off to such a strong start. All right, we welcome to Logging Off League, day one of our second weekend. We're gonna have a lot of really fun matchups this weekend, but just to start us off, I am Bones, better known as Bones. You may have seen me last week or elsewhere. Very excited to be back to start us off for this weekend, and with me is Mima.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the intro, Bones. My name is Mima, or Mima IDV, or Identity Mima. I'm really happy to be here. I definitely tuned in a lot last week, so I'm excited to be up here with Bones for our matchup for today. For this day four, we're going to be having Ravens versus Maphasy. We're going to have quite number more matchups tomorrow, but in the meantime, we get to start off strong with this Saturday coming soon.
Yeah, I'm honestly excited to have just the one match today, a little bit of warm up, kind of
Mhm.
getting into the rest of the bracket for this weekend, but definitely really excited for the rest of the matches this weekend as well. Today we're going to be looking at or not looking at today, we're going to be having Maphasy versus Ravens. So really exciting. These teams were really, really strong last week. So having them going up against each other today, it's definitely going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to how we're going to start this off from the get-go because I feel like last week was just filled with like high intensity, unexpected choices or really fun choices as well. So I'm hoping that we keep up that sort of pattern moving on into this weekend.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I always love having like the high octane, high intensity matches. And especially here with NAU, I feel like people are just that much more daring, that much, more aggressive with both the hunter and survivor side of things. So I'm really excited to see what these teams have in store for us, what picks they have in store for us. And hopefully, whatever happens is going to be a really, really fun show. So I'm very excited for today.
For sure. I think we are going to be proceeding into the ban and pick shortly once we figure out what maps we're going to be going with. Is there anything you're looking forward to seeing, maybe manifesting for today, Bones? Could be a map, character, anything like that.
I'm definitely hoping to see some good aeroplanist play. I know that
Yeah.
Ravens does tend to use the aeroplane. Well, actually, no, I can't remember if we saw an aeroplanist from Maphasy last week, but we did definitely see a lot of harassment. Maphasy had a prisoner as well that I definitely hope to see again. I was very happy with the prisoner gameplay from Maphasy last week. So looking for those, looking for that aeroplanist, looking for that prisoner. I'll always throw out the see a lizard.
Yes.
You know me. I want to see a lizard. Maybe a hermit. I would like to see a hermit, but hermit is so the biggest counter to a hermit is that four-man VC. So hermit a little bit scarier. Lizard I would definitely like to see. And what about you, Mima? Anything that you're looking forward to? I mean, I can definitely guess a couple of survivors that we want to see from your side, but
Absolutely. Yeah, I love to see my holy trinity of favorite survivors. That's always going to be Prospector, Toy Merchant, and of course, Fire Investigator. We saw quite a bit of him last week, and I feel like we're just seeing a lot of him in general now that he's ripe for the picking in terms of competitive. Like, if anyone's keeping up with the IVS, I think there's been quite a lot of Fire Investigator, especially with some of the new strategies that you can go along with. I was really impressed to see how people were choosing to counter Ivy with Fire Investigator's airbags. You can set it up right against your cipher. It's a bit tricky, but you can prevent the Yithian from infecting you as you decode, and I believe it will work for other hunters as well. People are testing it out even just today, and I've seen people prevent Clerk from recording the fire investigator just because he's hiding in that airbag against the cipher. And Sculptor's graveyard, you can't really hit him. It's really impressive, and I'm hoping that we get to see more fun plays like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be the airbag trick. It doesn't necessarily have to be fire investigator, although I'd really like that. But that's definitely the type of gameplay I'm manifesting for this weekend and for the rest of the tournament.
yeah, no, I saw a clip. I think it was Zeta versus GR.
Hmm.
but where the fire investigator was like hiding inside the airbag against an ivy, and you just couldn't leech at all. And just it's really creative, like the way that fire investigator has been used. Because I remember when he first released, people were saying like, he's trash. Like there's nothing you can do with this character. But people have just gotten so creative with those airbags. And I feel like he's definitely one of the strongest characters on the roster, I would say, with that assist capability, but also just being able to lock off like entire areas of the map. He basically creates another palette to
Mhm.
just place into the map. So yeah, very fun, and I really hope we do see unique applications of survivors and of characters' skill sets. But heading into our round one first half here with Ravens versus Maphasy, we've got Ravens on the map ban. They are going to ban Lakeside. Maphasy chooses Leo's Memory, and Maphasy is going to be hunting first. So we will be seeing Maphasy hunting first, as well as Ravens on the survivor side. So that's what we're going to be looking at for one.
I'm super hyped. I feel like we haven't quite seen Leo's Memory for season 2 of Logging Off League yet. And it's definitely something that was kind of on my radar. I was hoping for it because it's a larger map, but not quite Lakeside or Moonlit River Park large. So I feel like there's still a lot you can work with, especially with the terrain. There's just so many different kiting areas, so many different ways that you can go in terms of kiting route or where you're going to chair survivors, potentially cipher harass as well. We saw quite a bit of that last weekend. I feel like a lot of teams ended up getting pretty choked by the last bit of their ciphers, and it really made for intense late games.
Yeah, I always love seeing kind of that rush to the final cipher to, make sure that the hunter can't really catch up, can't like snowball cipher lock. Well, I feel like Leo's Memory is honestly it's a really fun map for that. Like the ciphers are pretty spread out. I feel like they're it's kind of a toss up on Leos because
Mhm.
it really just depends, on your initial spawn as well as where the ciphers spawn at all. But it's very I feel like it's harder to fully cipher lock yourself on Leos just because there's more structures on the map with ciphers in them and it's like relatively small, but
Mhm.
well, like there's always that risk, and especially when we're looking at hunters like Ivy, like the opera singer, it's very difficult to head into that end game. You've got leeches on both ciphers, you've got opera singer's ability to teleport back, but we've also been seeing a lot of more unconventional picks as well. On the hunter side, we've seen breaking wheels, maybe even fool's gold's honestly pretty good on Leo's Memory. So we could really be looking at anything, especially since there's no hunter ban in round one.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to have all of them on the table before we get into banning hunters. And likewise with survivors, you have like the least amount of bans in round one. And I'm really curious to see who they're going to lock in first. It does look like we are going to be getting a couple of those bans and picks in. And Maphasy is going to go ahead and ban the coordinator and toy merchant. Pretty solid choices, especially for round one and in consideration of the map as well. They are, however, going to be locking in the patient and gardener.
Yeah, Toy Merchant's always a band that I'm very sad to see. I do love seeing Toy
Mhm.
Merchant, but yeah, I mean, especially on Leo's Memory, the way that you can use those catapults on those stairs, definitely a really viable band here. And Gardener and Patient, always very classic. Patient especially, kind of taking that Toy Merchant band and going, oh, you don't want us to fly off the stairs? Oh well. Here comes can do that exact same thing, but we're also going to have Maphasy banning that first officer. Ravens is going to lock in the mercenary, and for our final ban, Maphasy is going to ban the prisoner. So no prisoner action coming up from Ravens. We will see what their final survivor pick is shortly. I would definitely expect maybe a decoding character, but they could also lock in another kiter here, or even a more aggressive harasser.
Absolutely. We could definitely be seeing that Aeroplanus perhaps. I know we touched briefly upon about wanting to see a little bit of him, and of course, Ravens does utilize the Aeroplanist well. I'm also in favor of possibly a decoder for our final pick, especially when you have characters like the mercenary not quite there for decoders or decoding progress, but it does look like we are going to be locking in as composer for our fourth and final pick. Definitely a solid alternative, especially in the sort of Ivy meta, round one, where all the hunters are on the table. Uh, Definitely a second viable option.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like Composer is probably the best option here, especially since we do have the Patient to kind of fill that void of the Aeroplanus, and with Patient being locked out in subsequent rounds because um we are working with the first two survivors being banned after every round. So yeah, we won't be seeing that Patient or that Gardener today after this match from Ravens, but again, that still leaves us open for the Aeroplanus. We also do have that Mercenary not locked off, so we can see that Mercenary again. And Composer as well, although Composer I would say is a little bit less or a little bit more disposable. But it's always good to see a are seeing a decoder there, especially with that prisoner ban. That does mean Maphasy is concerned about the ability to Cypher Rush. So, banning the prisoner, worried about Cypher Rush, will get somebody on the team who can do a little bit of that Cypher Rush. Composer is a very reliable decoder, a pretty simple decoder at that. Not a lot to think about, not nearly as, I would say, unstable as the mechanic.
Yeah, for sure. Though it would be nice to see a little more of the mechanic, possibly in later rounds or by any other teams that would wish to utilize her. I'm really enjoying her adjustment as of late. But yeah, I definitely agree with Bones in the sense that Composer is such a solid choice. And I do like the additional capability of using his tuning to transition from one area to another. I think it especially helps in a map like Leo's Memory where you definitely want to move on by the time you've utilized an area, used up all those pallets, and used your resources. So it definitely helps, especially making distance from the hunter. That's going to be really important here.
Having that ability to transition is really really important. That is another downside of that mechanic is, and as well as Mind's Eye. Lawyer I feel like would have been a good option here, but it is it's still a lawyer. I feel like composer's speed boost is fast, and it does go on a cooldown, but I feel like it's a little bit more reliable than the lawyer can be in some circumstances because you do need to decode that full cipher before lawyer gets that full speed boost. But we do have Maphasy's hunter lock, and everything I was saying at the start here, but that is going to be a hermit pick. So
Yay.
while we don't have those bans up, while we, can kind of catch the team a little bit off guard, I would say, Hermit's not generally a round one pick. So having that Hermit coming out here means we do have very, very, a lot of confidence in that Hermit's ability to 4K, which Hermit does have very good 4K potential. The one, the one obvious nerf of the Hermit is the fact that he's a very unstable hunter. It's kind of it's very easy to turn the tide of a match from a 4-man to a no-man or vice versa. He's
Mhm.
very unstable, he's very unpredictable, I would say, because of that shared damage. So teams really need to be on top of that healing, on top of, not switching at the wrong time, switching their polarity. There's a lot of stuff to think about against a hermit. So a very smart hunter pick, I would say, because I feel like teams are less prepared for a hermit in round one because there's so many hunters on the table.
Absolutely. They're definitely going to have to stay really on top with their teamwork and communication, especially the communication here. We do have a survivor I feel like poses the biggest threat to Hermit in this scenario, and I do think it's going to be their Gardener. Being
Mhm.
able to utilize the recall in addition to distributing the damage will really help them out. So if they want to turn things in their favor, I think Ravens is definitely going to have to be mindful of that. The way the recall works with Hermit is quite particular, especially. So if the Gardener is going to be getting hit under the recall damage, even if people are sharing the same polarity, it's going to tank the damage for everyone on behalf of the Gardener. But if it's someone else who's going to get hit, if Gardener so happens to be sharing that polarity with them, she can use the recall to tank that hit for herself only. But it's definitely something that requires a lot of timing.
Yeah, I'm definitely would be worried about that Gardener as well because with that shield, with the rechargeable shield as well,
Mhm.
it's very difficult, and especially on a team that does have good communication, that Gardener can be very, very dangerous because she can just, that bubble primed, keep it on call, so as soon as the survivor is like, "Oh, I'm gonna get hit," bubble up, and that, it makes it much more difficult to have that shared damage across the team when there's one survivor that continually breaks it. But yeah, I feel like Mercenary here is definitely a little bit vulnerable against the Hermit. Mercenary can't really do a whole lot because of that 1.2 damage. He's a lot more vulnerable to not having that delayed damage to work with, and especially post nerf. I feel like he is he's in a lot of danger here because he does take, that chip damage on the shared connection, as well as just being having getting frozen is not great when the only thing that you can do is use your elbow pads to get away. Hermit is very good at being able to cut those elbow pads off. But we are going to be heading into the match now. Very happy to see Warden on display as well. I'm still so sad that I didn't get Warden, but I never even thought that I would look at Hermit. But his gameplay is just so much fun. So every time I see Warden, I'm a little bit sad, but always a
It's okay.
treat.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure they'll come up with even better skins as well. I mean, I really love the Kitty Alba. I love the drip that you're sporting today, Bones, and for this tournament. But we are going to be moving into this area selection here.
Yeah, it looks like Mercenary wiggling around a little bit, but it looks like we're going to head for that plus formation here. Composer in the factory, Gardner in the middle, almost baiting that chase, and we're going to have Patient up at the shack. Hermit is just going to go ahead and complete the cross here, but honestly, not bad Cypher locations, or not a bad spawn here. I feel like the Cypher, if their Cypher spawns next to Factory, I believe that'll be the one that's locked off if Hermit has that persona on. But either way, heading into round one, first half here with Maphasy versus Ravens. Best of luck to both teams. Once again, I'm Bones here with Mima.
Yeah, good luck both teams. Let's see, have a look and see who's going to be our first chase. I'm interested in seeing what strategy Ling is going to go for because I know you can definitely opt to connect the ciphers like right here. Some hermits do avoid that to get their first hit in and to prevent the distribution of the damage, but it does look like we are going to go ahead and go for the patient over at Shack.
Yeah, Patient hiding out here, trying to avoid the Hermit's line of sight for as long as possible, but it does look like Hermit's going to go ahead and predict. Oh no, actually not able to spot that blood trail from the Patient. Patient walking there definitely hid that blood trail. I wonder if there's a little bit of airwalk involved on that persona, but we are going to see Patient carrying broken windows as well as borrowed time. Does look like all members of the team, or at least most members of the team, do have that borrowed time equipped as well. So not in a lot of danger here, especially if we end up getting to that Cypher pop. But looks like Mercenary may actually be our first target, which is not a bad choice, but we are going to unfortunately miss that first charge.
That's right, we're going to play a little bit around this pallet, and we are going to get a hit on the Mercenary, who isn't able to get that pallet drop on our Hermit.
Yeah, it was a very good first hit there, especially not having that charge is really good here because that damage was not distributed, meaning that Mercenary can only take one more basic hit. Looks like we are looking for that charge a little bit, but an elbow pad nicely done. But with that insolence in play, oh, but a little bit undershot on that teleport.
Hermit is still gaining on this Mercenary, but he does elbow pad away. Tokatsu still has one more elbow pad to work with, and it does look like we're going to be sharing damage with Patient.
Yeah, good pallet drop there. Hermit is not blank. We do have teleport equipped, so nothing really in play, but a beautiful stun there just to cut off that elbow pad. Unfortunately, with the shared damage, Mercenary is still running. So this is turning into a pretty long containment here. We've already got one Cypher popped, and it looks like Patient Cypher is past 60%, and Gardner Cypher about to pop as well. So that's already a 2-Cypher kite here in early game, which is very, very good against a Hermit who did connect those Cyphers. But Mercenary is going to go down.
Yeah, we did see this damage distributed to all survivors in the field. Not too bad, but we are going to have Mercenary chaired in the middle of the map.
Yep, just checking that connection, seeing how we are looking. Gardner is in the area, but it looks like Patient actually coming through from the back is going to take a hit here, but that will allow him to get the rescue. Unfortunately, we don't have Tide Turner, and Mercenary is just going to go straight down. Nothing to work with here, no elbow pads remaining, and unfortunately not able to take that delayed damage because, again, Hermit does deal that 1.2 damage. So we will see Mercenary on that second chair. And we'll see if they go in for this rescue because, again, Mercenary does not have a lot of items to use, or has no items to use at this point. So we could just go ahead and sell him here, focus on Cypher Rush. I feel like that may be what Ravens is going to do in this situation.
Yeah, for sure. Mercenary does have that little bit of longer chair time, I believe, the additional 10%. We are, however, going to have Gardener. Oh, we're going to teleport onto the Composer over at the factory ruins, and Mercenary is going to be sent back to the manor.
Yeah, a bit of a risky teleport there. Once again, getting some flashbacks from last week as well with those risky teleports. But it did work out in the end. Mercenary returning back to the manor. And another hit. This is a very dangerous position for Ravens to be in. All survivors are injured. Patient switching polarity there is going to result in a double down, I believe. Oh, actually, no, it did not. Very good calculation there from Ravens' end. Patient is going to share that damage and go down, which does mean he will be able to get healed up to full health. So very well done there from Ravens, and that communication really comes in play. Composer, unfortunately, is going to go down, and Gardner will hit another bit of damage there, just continuing to chip these survivors down.
For sure, this is going to be a tricky situation. We are going to have Gardener pop the fourth Cypher, and it does look like Patient has picked himself up halfway into another one. So we are going to be having Gardener move over closer to the chair. We are in the factory area, but Hermit is kind of approaching, not quite getting tinnitus yet, so it does allow for some more room to decode.
Yeah, this is a very tight position here for Ravens to be in, but Patient is on that Cypher. 11 seconds to teleport here, under 10 now. Does look like we're keeping an eye on those Cyphers. Now, with Hermit, it's a little bit difficult to figure out what's being decoded when, but it does look like we have an eye on it, and that will be a teleport here. Patient does still have 2 hooks remaining. That Cypher is very, very close to being done, though.
Ooh, and we are going to be...
Oh!
Oh, and the Gardener is going to go down with this shared damage, and it does look like Patient is going to go down as well.
Yeah, that's a really, really unfortunate misstep there. Patient just not quite aiming, or I guess it was a little bit of both. I feel like that hook was meant to go in the other direction, I feel like, but yeah, just a little bit of mind games on both sides. Gardner going down there also just really, really detrimental to the energy there because, you know, not able to get that rescue on Composer. That could have maybe, you know, looked to bring things back, but unfortunately just not going to be the case. And Patient has also utilized that self-heal, so Gardner is pretty much just has to stay alive as long as possible to look for that solo escape. But if it happens at all, it does not look like Hermit actually saw Gardner there. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gardener is gonna go down after revealing herself. It was a pretty solid hiding spot, but kind of being cornered there, you only have so little options, and we are going to go for that surrender. So congratulations to Maphasy for finishing off the first half of round 1 with a 4-man elimination.
Yep, that does mean that looking at a situation here where either Ravens needs to respond in kind with another 4-man elimination, or we will be looking at Maphasy winning this first round. So that does mean Maphasy survivors are also in a very good position where they only need to get 1 escape in the next half of the round in order to clutch that win. And it puts Ravens at, you know, a bit of a more difficult situation where they do need to get a 4-man elimination. But we are looking at round 1, no hunter bans in play. So it is, I would say, easier to get that 4-man elimination stakes in round 1 as opposed to in later rounds, because without those hunter bans in check, there's only so much the survivors can do to counter the hunter, but also just gameplay wise in general. getting a 4K as Hunter in this economy is a feat unto itself. So yeah, very, very well played by Maphasy there in the first half. And Ravens will just need to respond in the second half.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they do respond to this. And I'm glad we got to start off strong with that four-man. It was fun to watch. It's a little bit unfortunate that we had to end up selling uh, both teammates that ended up on the chair, Mercenary and Composer, ended up getting sent back to the manor. And bit of a tricky situation as well, being on such a big map. And despite having all these ciphers well past half, of course, uh, it was a really hard thing to have to pop it, especially with Hermit really keeping in mind where the survivors are as much as possible. I know Bones mentioned how difficult it is to pinpoint which cipher exactly a survivor may be at because they're all distributing the decoding progress as well, depending on your connection with them. But uh, definitely keeping such a vigilant eye out really pulled through here. And just knowing that the gardener was kind of forced to have to circle back to a cipher with so much progress because the patient had exerted his exit path was a really smart play.
Yeah, just very well managed there by the Hermit. It is always, once again, the biggest counter to Hermit is that four-man VC team. He is very vulnerable to good communication. There was a lot of really good communication there from Ravens. The most important thing, though, is that, you can communicate that shared damage and
Hmm.
distribute it as much as you want. But there comes a point where if there is no healing happening, that, you've just distributed too much damage and then everybody's on the floor and you can't do anything about it. So yeah, I feel like if there had been more opportunity to heal, but also, that is the hermit's job as well to not give the survivors a chance to breathe, to keep them on their feet at all times and make sure that they won't be, healing, won't be regrouping and
Hmm.
unable to kind of avoid the hermit snowball. So very nicely played for that first half, but we are going to head into the second half of round one here with Ravens on the hunter side. We're going to have our first two bands as well with the antiquarian and the psychologist.
Definitely some solid choices here, especially with the map. I feel like there's a lot that you can do with Antiquarian, even in the factory alone. And of course, Psychologist, really great for being able to heal the survivors, even just remotely. Uh, we saw how much it can go in the hunter's favor if you aren't able to heal. So it's really good to take her off the table first and foremost.
Yeah, having that antiquarian is just, she's antiquarian. There's not much else to say about that one. And psychologist as well, you just do not want to have those three hits going on, and especially it also puts the survivors in a position where they can go ahead and lock seer. They can go ahead and pick that seer, still have a survivor that can take three hits. But first of all, there is the danger of that ivy, who seer is somewhat strong against, but still
Mhm.
only has that one owl to use, and it's very difficult to get a second owl against an ivy where looking at her is what you don't want to do. So I feel like there's a little bit of bait going on here for Maphasy to possibly lock in the seer. But it does look like we're going to go with that Gardener instead. So still looking for that shield, still having the safety of that early game with a little bit less risk than the Seer, and Coordinator as well. Always a very good first couple picks, a little bit dispensable, but still very, very strong.
Yeah, for sure. It is nice to see the coordinator be in play, especially because we had her taken off the table by being banned in the first half. Always a solid choice for round one, as well as the gardener. It's a little bit unfortunate that we aren't going to be seeing gardener in the later rounds of today due to entering the global bans after this. But once again, there's still a lot that you can do with her, especially with that recall. It would be nice to see some of that recall action to take some damage. Of course, you do end up giving the hunter presence, but it does especially work well in the later game if you're not first kite. Being able to tank that extra damage in the beginning of the game is always really helpful. But we also have, of course, the possibility of dismantling chairs if you choose to go with that sort of strategy. As for our next ban, we are going to be taking Mercenary off the table, but of course, in turn, we will be having the first officer locked in. Always fun to have one or the other.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting as well to see that mercenary taken off and the first officer locked instead. That definitely, or I would assume that this means that Ravens is going to choose a hunter who counters first officer because first officer is, I would say, one of the strongest, if not, even stronger than mercenary in the current meta. So having that first officer on the team can be very good, but if we're looking at a hunter pick like Disciple, Wax Artist is a little bit iffy on memory just because of the amount of walls and levels that his
Mhm.
Wax needs to kind of travel through. But Disciple, even another Hermit, can be very strong against First Officer if the hunter is able to kind of predict where the watch is. But we are going to see a Seer ban finally coming through from Ravens, and Maphasy is going to lock in that Embalmer. Once again, they do only need that solo escape, so Embalmer, not a surprise to see here. Embalmer is very good at helping tie scenario, getting one man out the gate scenario by allowing for essentially a free rescue. Even if it does end up being a bit of a farm, even if the coffin is right there, it still means that the survivor is taken off the chair and that no other survivor needs to go in and risk being injured on a rescue, which means that it's more difficult for the hunter to snowball with damage later on. It allows all survivors to keep decoding, allows all survivors to keep safe. So Balmer, a very, very valuable addition to this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I especially feel like a map like Leo's Memory definitely works in Embalmer's favor as well. There's just so much terrain to work with that you can really plop your coffin just about anywhere without having too much of a risk of being in a vulnerable position. With addition to that, I do think that with the amount of dungeon spawns on Leo's, it is 5. It's kind of a little bit in a circle. You could do a full lap around the map and get to each of them. There's always a good chance of having that coffin nearby as well, even if you preemptively drop it. So that definitely boosts their possibility for getting survivors out even more. And of course, that is going to be their win condition for this round to have at least one escape. So once again, like definitely a solid choice to lock in Embalmer as our fourth and final pick.
Yeah, my god, there really are 5 dungeon spawns on Leo's.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever noticed that there were 5 dungeon spawns on Leo's. Like that makes sense now that I actually count them in my head. But
Mhm.
that's a lot. That's a lot of dungeon locations. So yeah, very that's a very
Yeah,
good point about the embalmer being able to have, that versatility and, probably about like a 50% chance of being near where the dungeon spawns or at least close enough to make a run for it depending on where it's placed.
definitely. And I do feel like the dungeon locations are rather close to one another as well. It's inevitable when you have them in such a loop, but uh, I do think that for the most part, 3 of them in particular are really solid locations. There's the Moongate Ruins, the shack behind the shack, and then the Christmas tree one. If you end up in one area or the other, it's a lot more feasible to end up transitioning from one area to the other when you need to get that escape in. So having that coffin anywhere near there, of course, definitely comes in clutch. And as well as the factory, I know that embalmers can definitely put their coffins up in 2-story levels. And when you have the coffin in Leo's memory factory in particular, there's that chance of having it spawn on either side of the factory. So it makes for a pretty good escape route. And of course, there is like the 2-story, there is like huge staircases that go up to there. It's harder to reach you and catch up to you if you don't already make a beeline for that dungeon to begin with.
Yeah, Leo's Memory was always one of my favorite maps back when I used to be an Embalmer main. Way, way back in the
Ooh.
day. Way back in the day. This was before Embalmer even got any sort of rework, like just full Coffin and a Dream situation
Oh,
for me out there. But wow,
I
speaking
remember
of
that.
dream situations for me, it looks like we do have our hunter lock, and that is going to be another hermit. So yeah, I'm happy about this information. I always love seeing Hermit gameplay because there's just so many different ways to play the Hermit. You can go with the Insolence persona, which has been really common lately. You can connect the ciphers at first. You can not connect the ciphers. You can do what some pro hunters will just connect 1 or 2 ciphers at the start because they know somebody spawned in that area. Try to get that guaranteed charge on a survivor very early and work from there. He's a very versatile hunter with a lot of different unique play styles, so it's always fun to see how different hunters kind of handle the Hermit, and as well seeing how survivors are able to counter the Hermit in turn. So yeah, I feel like this is going to be, it's a very fun round 1.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes. I honestly hope that it goes on for a pretty long time. I think Hermit matches tend to span out rather long, but with this team comp in consideration, I definitely feel like they can stretch things out. I I also feel like it's going to be uh, a better opportunity for survivors to be able to rescue one another. We didn't quite see very many rescues off the chair in our last match, but I feel like there's a greater possibility of having these options as opposed to some. Not necessarily in terms of their win conditions. Maphasy does need just one survivor out, but when you have not just one but two kind of rescue classified characters, uh especially with the first officer with that long chair time, gardener as well, especially if you end up breaking those chairs and getting seated in them after you've dismantled them. And of course you have the coordinator as well, who has that gun, who can buy a lot of time if you choose to utilize it for a rescue. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course the embalmer coffin goes without saying.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see. I feel like the first officer here, I do feel like is a little bit risky, just because still like it's Hermit does have kind of the disciple capability to cut the first officer off at the chair and cancel
Mhm.
that watch, but it's a lot more difficult. It's a lot more precise to do with a Hermit. You don't really have as much of that area sort of forgiveness that disciple has with the cats. So the first officer scares me. Mercenary is just a little bit weak in my opinion against Hermit. So I'm staring at that ban pick and almost questioning it. But first officer does still have a lot of risk. I feel like going in for injured rescues is riskier against a Hermit for a first officer. Sometimes it's very
Oh,
situational here.
absolutely.
Rescuers are always going to
Absolutely.
be rescuers though. So, it really is a pick your poison situation.
Yeah, that's right. Now that you mention it, oh, it takes me back to my first officer days. It's so funny to have kind of like legacy mains for both Bones and I here. But I
Mhm.
definitely remember how, like with the adjustment of first officer and the the strength of the pocket watch being able to utilize for a rescue. As soon as you touch that chair, it's kind of over for you. And having a hermit stun you out of it is like game over. That's like a death sentence to me. So I definitely uh thoughts and prayers go out to the first officer. Rescuer is such a tough business. So we'll see how that goes for them. I'm really excited for this match though, now that we've discussed so many possibilities.
Yeah, and I mean there are just so many possibilities for this team, for this comp. Hermit matches again are just so varied. There's so
Mhm.
many there's so many possibilities for how this match can go. But again, I do feel like Hermit is a very strong pick though, because even if he is somewhat unstable and somewhat swingable, we did just see in the last match how not easy it is, but how easy it can be to swing something into a 4-man elimination situation. So it is I feel like it is a good pick, especially when you need a 4-man elimination to have that Hermit, the worst, I guess the worst that can happen is that it backfires, but it
Mhm.
is, once you get that delayed damage or delayed that distributed damage across the members of it gets a little bit more simple. but we are going to be spawning in here. Looks like we've got no borrowed time on the Embalmer. I do believe all other members of the team, all other members of the team do have borrowed time. First officer with Tide, pretty standard across the line on those Persona webs. And it looks like we're heading formation, so a bit of a mirror from the last matchup here.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a good choice of giving that Embalmer that factory level, but it does look like we are going to be having our Hermit complete the plus formation with the Gardener in Shack, Coordinator in middle, and our first officer past the Christmas tree ruins, that's right. And we are going to be heading into the second half of round 1 with our Ravens Hunter up against the Maphasy survivors. My name is Mima, and I am joined by Bones for commentary. Best of luck to both teams.
Yeah, best of luck to both teams with our Hermit Gaming round 1. But it's always a treat. It really is always a treat to see a Hermit. But heading in now, I would say... Yeah, it looks like we are going to go ahead and connect those ciphers first. Gardner looks like she's in the line of fire here. We'll see if Hermit ends up switching targets, but the charge as well would not be the worst thing to go after Gardner first, especially even if she does eat the first hit with her bubble, that charge will remain, so she can be stunned twice with using a little bit less resources from the Hermit, but nicely done with hiding that camera. We are going to go for that early hit on the charge is in cooldown as we head to that pallet, but again, Gardner did red charge, so we will be seeing her able to get frozen in just a moment.
Alright, so Gardener is able to make the ball out of Shack, but Hermit is following close behind with a really nice stun. We are going to get a hit on the Gardener here, distributing all of the damage towards the team.
Yeah, and heading towards the factory here, it does look like Coordinator is in the area. We do have Warp online, though. That can be very valuable heading into this area. Gardner avoiding that Terror Shock here. It looks not going to use the Warp just yet to catch up, but it looks like Coordinator is at the bottom of those stairs preparing for the Hermit to arrive. But very nice prediction there from the Hermit. We're going to see a beautiful dodge on that gun. Coordinator also taking a hit here. Hermit is at full presence with the help of that Insolence.
Sure, and it does look like we are going to switch targets to the Coordinator, especially after utilizing our only item. Now this Coordinator did just pick up a red charge, so we are going to be seeing that damage distributed to the first officer and possibly the Gardener if we don't switch. Yeah, we are going to be sharing that, but it does keep the Coordinator still up in play.
Yeah, it keeps the Coordinator up in play, but this is a lot of damage to distribute, especially... Nicely done with
Nice
that pallet stun, though. And Coordinator still does not have a charge. First Officer and Embalmer also don't have charges. I can't tell if they are decoding, and there's a... Yeah, okay, First Officer is not that's connected to the rest, but it definitely looks like we're trying to get as that distributed damage as possible. Coordinator is going to go down here. Gardner very close with that blue charge to being downed as well, and it looks like we're going to be cheering near the First Officer.
Yeah, forcing him off that unconnected cipher as well. That was a good call on the Hermit's part for waiting for the Coordinator to vault. Nicely done. And it does look like the Hermit is kind of going to go up to the First Officer, who does move away even farther from the chair. Of course, we do have a little bit of a longer chair time for this Coordinator here, but First Officer is going to be activating his pocket watch on the way to the chair.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate here that First Officer did pick up a red charge just because that blue charge on Gardner is something that can be changed. But it looks like we are going to head for that blue charge here. Gardner will be going down with this hit. Unfortunately, not quite able to get that shield up in time. Coordinator has been coffined, though, so that does mean Embalmer will be able to make that rescue, and no damage will be on the rest of the team. But using the Warp here, but Coordinator with a very nicely timed vault, and is also going to avoid that blue charge that was placed on the other side. So a little bit unfortunate that that Warp is now back in cooldown, but we still have plenty of time left in this matchup. And looking for the charge right outside of that pallet, Coordinator is going to go down, but that, Coffin is in play, and no Warp to catch up as well. So Coordinator, that was a very good play here from Maphasy survivors.
Definitely, and it does look like Gardner was picked up by a teammate, so we still have that exit path to work with. We are going to be seeing this Hermit continue pursuit with the Coordinator, but we don't quite have an eye on her yet. Not Tinnitus either.
Yeah, Gardner has also been healed up, so that's very good as well, being able to get that healing in. Looking for Coordinator here.
Ouch.
Not quite in this corner. She has been rotating
Mhm.
away. So Hermit a little bit lost, but it does look like we may catch sight of Coordinator's blood trail here. Yes, it does look like we were able to see that. So with a couple of teleports, Coordinator not quite in line of sight yet, but yep, there she is. So she will be taking that blue charge here. First officer is not being healed, so this will be, I believe... Okay, yeah, first officer is going to go down. Coordinator will still be up. But rescuer down here is not a situation that Maphasy really wants to be in. Now, this does mean that first officer can get healed up to full if they're able to get the first officer and heal him. But that remains to be seen.
Yeah, it does look like we're going to see the Hermit return to chasing the Gardener, but we are going to be using the Recall to take the damage. Of course, it is still distributed to the Embalmer, but we are going to be... Oh, okay, so we are going to be using our red light trick to try and get this Gardener here.
Ooh!
Nice use of the Recall. Yeah, okay, so we didn't quite see it earlier because Embalmer ended up getting hit, but it was nice to save it up for now. We are going to see Gardener get hit, but First Officer has since then been fully healed.
Yeah, and Math doing a really good job here of managing that damage, making sure to heal. Their ciphers are not looking too bad either. 2 ciphers remaining here. No survivors have been eliminated. But it looks to go into the corner here. Unfortunately, taking that hit. It was heavily distributed to first officer a little bit there. But yeah, that's... Is she... Okay, yeah, Gardner has not been shared yet because she was switched off at the beginning of the game. Coordinator is going to be dead on share here. And first officer has not utilized that self-heal. So with 2 ciphers remaining here, Maphasy is in a good situation, especially taking the time to heal up the Coordinator as well. So getting the survivors as close to not full health, but a little bit less on the verge of death than they were before.
As much as possible. We are having First Officer close in on this chair. Going to use the Pocket Watch here. It does look like Coordinator also ended up picking up one from a chest. But the Hermit is going to stun our First Officer here, who is going to get a hit, but gets the rescue in for the Gardener.
Yeah, and that was a right before half rescue. Hermit was trying to stall, but unfortunately just stall quite long enough. We are looking to get that distributed damage on the Coordinator as well, which is a very, that's honestly, that could go really well. If we're able to get the red charge on the Gardener here, that can be very, very strong for Hermit. Yep, it does look like we are charged. Looking for that recall, though, and it is... I don't think that recall went off.
It didn't land because the Coordinator unfortunately went down and Gardener did still take some damage. But we are going to see the Hermit use the Warp. Warping really close by to the Coordinator. Unfortunately, we aren't going to be seeing the Coordinator! Oh no! Yeah, unfortunately, the Coordinator is dead on chair, so not being able to catch her really puts Hermit at a disadvantage here.
Oh no, and missing that hit on the Embalmer as well. Embalmer also using the flywheel to stay alive a little bit longer, but we are going to see, and it was enough time for Gardner to change that polarity. That is cute, and it looks like First Officer may have also changed polarity here. So, yeah, very, very big. And oh, we're going to see the Cypher pop, but unfortunately just a second too late. Embalmer did not have borrowed time, though.
So I guess,
you know... Yeah, Cypher Pop is going to Cypher Pop regardless, but Warp is in cooldown. This is a very good situation here for Maphasy survivors. They can, at the very least, I would say, get a draw out of this, if not more, because those detention hits will also be shared. Embalmer still is on share, and it looks like Gardner's in the area, kind of baiting that rescue.
Oh, we're gonna
Coordinator
see
is going to use that Pocket Watch here.
Oh, and they are sharing the damage as well. Gardener does still have the recall to work with. I believe earlier, since we didn't utilize the recall, it's going to be practically... Oh, but the stun is going to go through. But that shared damage...
Oh, but the gate is open.
Yep, recall, yeah. Saving the instant
That's
recall.
a 3-man escape here.
Yeah, congratulations. Really well done. It does look like we are going to be having Maphasy take the first round with this... I want to say 8 point lead. I'm not sure. I'm not good with
Uh,
numbers, but
yeah, 8 point lead.
congratulations.
8 point lead. That's 5 points to Maphasy in the first half and 3 points in the second half. So yep, eight. Well, I guess 7 point lead. It's eight to
Oh, true, true,
one.
true. 8-1.
8-1.
True. Okay. Yay, single digit math. Yeah, really great way to start off the round one. I'm really glad to be able to see the back-to-back Hermit gameplay, and that was a really intense match that did meet my expectations, especially with such a fun team composition.
Yeah, and it's honestly like that is exactly what I was talking about in the first half there with Ravens not being able to heal, not being able to regroup, and
Hmm.
that being, leading to that four-man elimination. Maphasy, sees that and goes, "Okay, but we'll heal though." And, using that time to be able to heal up really did change the tide of that match because I mean, it was a very, very dangerous situation for Maphasy early on. That the missed gun from the coordinator, switching targets onto the defenseless coordinator as well. And I mean Gardner was on the verge of first officer was on the verge of death, multiple survivors just kind of sitting at that 99% damage pretty much. And if they had not been able to heal up, that would have been a much different game. But taking the time to be able to heal, regroup, get all your ducks in line, that's really what you need to be able to do against a hermit. So very well done by Maphasy survivors. And a well-deserved first half. But again, just looking at or coming up onto round two, we do have those global bans in play. Both teams have banned out the Gardener. Ravens has banned out the Patient for their global bans, and Maphasy has banned out the Coordinator. So those survivors we will not be seeing coming into round two. We also have Hunter bans to contend with. Starting in round
Mhm.
two, each team gets one Hunter ban. So I would say we're probably going to be seeing from Ravens unless the map is somehow bad for Hermit, but I feel like there's not really a map where Hermit is unplayable. He's definitely weaker on some maps. I would say he's a little bit weak on, Lakeside. He's okay on Moonlit. He does kind of struggle with large maps because of his lack of mobility, but there's not really a map that Hermit is bad on, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a Hermit ban, at least from Ravens. Maphasy does have a little bit less to worry about, but I would say just because the Hermit is such an unpredictable hunter, and it really can go either way, it wouldn't be a bad idea to be looking at a double Hermit ban, but we do still have, obviously, Opera Singer on the table. Ivy as well, kind of lurking in the background. We haven't seen much of her, but she is there, always ready to, come and terrorize the survivors.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing uh how they're gonna go about their ban and picks that we will be proceeding to shortly. It's always tough in round two if you want to go for respectfully banning out what you saw the hunter utilize in the first round, or if you really want to go for the meta, if they had not gone with our top dogs, Opera and Ivy, of course. But yeah, and now that we have characters entering our global ban as well, it really narrows down the survivor pool as well. I'm definitely gonna miss the Gardener, uh, but I think that while we still had her in play, we had some good Gardener gameplay. I think that the charging the recall definitely benefited Maphasy a lot in the previous match. I know that it's really easy to interrupt the gardener when she's got a charge when you're the hermit, but being able to kind of preemptively have that build up of your recall to take over later on definitely helps because I believe you can have up to 1.7 seconds charge, so it really just takes the fraction of a second to utilize that recall once you've got it kind of built up.
Yeah, it was so effective the way that charge recall was used. Just standing still for half a second, immediately getting that bubble, and so clutch in the end game as well. Because Gardner did come
Hmm.
really, really close to not being able to come out or not being able to exit out the gate. But having that recall charged, being able to get that shield up right in time, clutch that three-man escape. And I mean, a draw would not have been the worst case scenario, but having the three-man not allowing any points to Raven's side. Very, very well done from Maphasy. But heading into the first half of round 2 here, we are going to have Maphasy ban Ever Sleeping, and we will have Ravens choose Chinatown. So Chinatown is a map that Hermit is very strong on, so I would definitely expect to see at least one Hermit ban coming up, but maybe they will go, all right, we can ban somebody else and counter pick the Hermit, because Hermit does have very strong counters. We could see, a Gravekeeper, we could see Enchantress. I would say probably not seeing a Doctor on the team, but we could see Barmaid, a different survivor that can heal chip damage. Psychologist as well is capable of healing those chips. So if we end up not banning the Hermit, okay, yeah, Maphasy is going to hunt first here. So if Ravens ends up not banning the Hermit from Maphasy's Hunter, then we could see a Hermit counter here. But, Chinatown is a map that is very good for a lot of hunters. I would say the only hunters that it's not very good for are where she does get countered very hard by levels, and there's a lot of places to just mess up the Yith. Any levels the Yith can't really affect as much because it only operates on like one plane. I don't know if I'm explaining that well at all, but like the radius, it's kind of like Dancer music boxes where if she places it
Yeah.
on a ramp, then it doesn't like affect the whole ramp. It just affects that one tiny spot where the ramp is flat where she placed it. It's the exact same logic for Ivy's Yith, and the tablet kind of corruption radiuses. So yeah, Chinatown, not a great map for Ivy.
Yeah, that
So
definitely
wouldn't
makes
expect to see
sense.
her here, but very good for other
Mhm.
hunters.
Yeah, the different elevations can really, really hinder certain characters like that. But of course, um, since Dancer was mentioned, I do feel like it's not so bad of a map for her, aside from those different elevations if you choose to utilize your music boxes there. I know we did see Toy Merchant banned out in the previous match, but I definitely think she would be a pretty solid choice for Chinatown as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see either Toy Merchant, Aeroplanist, maybe both if I'm allowed to
Mm-hmm.
hope and dream. But really, they're both so strong, and especially looking at that patient ban or the patient global ban, I would hope to see a survivor that can take advantage of those levels, because Hotel Loop with Aeroplanist is very strong. Hotel Loop with Toy Merchant, either as Toy Merchant or with her support with those catapults, can just be such strong areas for the survivors. So having that on the team, I would really like to see it.
You know what I'd really like to see?
I can't imagine Mima. Mima, what would you like to see coming into round 2 first half?
I don't know, maybe just a fire investigator. I think he will definitely be another alternative if we want to really make distance and account for such open areas. And since we bring up the hospital loop, I definitely think that is one of his strongest areas in the game, especially when it comes to the open alleyway. I think that airbags can really come in clutch if you want to make that distance with such open space to get to the staircase. So I'm throwing my hat into the ring for fire investigator.
Yeah, I mean, he can also block off the entire staircase, right? I mean,
Hmm.
maybe not all of them, but definitely like the small fire escape one at the hotel area.
Yeah, it definitely depends on what the hunter is gonna go for. Because I know that when it comes to airbags, if you want to use it to block off places, it's a one and done type thing, you know? And it's not guaranteed that the hunter will break your airbag if they really want to keep up with the chase. So I think that when you play Fire Investigator, especially, it's always good to kind of test the waters a little bit before you have an airbag or two taken off the table by using it as a sort of shield. It's definitely pretty strong to be able to utilize the airbags to loop the hunter as well, if they allow you to keep those airbags in play, especially on Chinatown. And of course, with Fire Investigator, you do have the lower cooldown when it comes to using them. So if you set up two, you can kind of go back to back it's a really nasty play, especially on Chinatown, but it works. It does look like we are going to be banning the coordinator and the toy merchant, but hey, we are going to be locking in with the aeroplanist and dancer.
Yeah, definitely excited to see that Aeroplanist coming out here, as well as Dancer. I feel like I did kind of brush over her, even though I mentioned her. But she is really strong on Chinatown, despite not being
Hmm.
able to take as much advantage of those stairwells. There are just so many areas that she can work with the amount of pallets, tight areas as well on Chinatown. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of versatility, as well as the fact that she does get that speed boost whenever she drops off a ledge. So having that
Yes,
hotel loop in play can be a dancer on the team.
for sure. Yeah, tightrope dancer always comes as a really viable asset when you are in pursuit, especially on a map like Chinatown where there's quite a number. I would say about three that's kind of open. Like there's the hotel one, there's the two bridges, and then I guess if you want to drop down from the stairs as well, there's even more. Like I believe the opposite end of the map with the open staircase you can kind of fall through. Of course, there's always the risk of having the hunter drop down with you and getting double hit. Or like at least without the attack recovery due to the drop down. But
Yeah.
with tightrope dancer, honestly, sometimes it really the speed boost kicks in before they can even reach you. So um, it's always fun to use. And of course, there are a lot of areas where I feel like you can really utilize uh the boxes. I almost said airbags. The boxes where you can use them for
The
both.
two Florian pilled.
Exactly. But I have to respect my roots. I do love the dancer and I love playing as her too. So I think that when it comes to being able to utilize the boxes for both palettes and decoding, there's lots of areas where you can place it down. So even if the hunter does end up coming over there or a teammate kind of brings a hunter over, there's still a lot to work with and you can still boost your decoding as well. I really do like Dancer as a pseudo decoder, so if they choose to opt
Hmm.
for not choosing a decoder this time around, at least they have the Dancer on board.
Yeah, she's really, really strong in that aspect as well, especially since you can pick up the boxes now, which you used to not be able to do a million
Yeah.
years ago. But being able to pick up those boxes is just a huge boost to that dancer. But we are going to ban out the opera singer, so not going to ban the hermit here. Maphasy is going to ban the first officer, and instead of seeing that mercenary kind of come in tow, going to lock in the puppeteer. And I think this is actually the first puppeteer, at least that I've seen, since post buff, yeah, being played in a tournament. So I'm very excited to see what this puppeteer is capable of.
Same here. That buff really turned the tides for Puppeteer. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so sorry. I genuinely remember like the first person that I heard from in terms of like impressions of the Puppeteer buff was Bones and yeah, my condolences. But
Because I was not because speaking of the hermit, they buffed puppeteer specifically to counter hermit because they were like, okay, you know what we can add to this character who's already kind of busted. We're going to make it so that instead of taking only one hit of damage when he's completely invulnerable and can't take any damage, we're going to make it so that he can take 1.5 damage, which is specifically more than hermit because, you know, why not? Why not? Why wouldn't we do that? But it does work for against a hermit if we are going to be looking at that hermit. Maphasy is going to ban the seer. Ravens is going to lock in for their final pick, the cheerleader, who does, I would say cheerleader is actually a little bit dangerous against a hermit because again, kind of the same principle as the mercenary. Aeroplanist in a little bit of danger too, a little bit less danger because of the I guess Aeroplanist is a little bit less predictable because of the randomness of that jetpack, and also
Mhm.
the hover you can't exactly stun out of. But Cheerleader can just be stopped completely in her tracks if we are going to be looking at a Hermit. Now, again, it's hypothetical. It is very hypothetical if we're looking at Hermit or not. But Hermit's not bad on Chinatown. Hermit's actually very good on Chinatown because of those levels. He's actually able to teleport much farther than he is on most other maps. The way that the ball teleport is judged, it's judged off height. So if he's in one of the two stories, I believe you can specifically in that the dollhouse area, that two-story, you can teleport pretty much to like fully to the center of the map, with almost no sweat. So He's very, very mobile on this map, very strong on this map. I would not be surprised if we're looking at a hermit situation here.
Yeah, for sure. I do believe we are going to be getting that lock in shortly. And honestly, Bones brings up pretty good points. I also feel like uh on the one hand, we are going to be able to have cheerleader utilize the inspiration mostly for ourselves, because you do have characters where um it's not as beneficial for them aside from the aeroplanist. I mean, you're definitely not going to be able to inspire that hover, but it doesn't quite work with Dancer. Unfortunately, it won't be able to reset the cooldown of that side step, the little twirl that she can do within the music box radius. And of course, Puppeteer doesn't quite have that cooldown limitation. It's more so based on his health. So on the bright side, there is that inspiration to work with if you really need to utilize those motivates. Uh, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna throw everything that I've just said out the window because we do have our hunter lock, and it is going to be that Ivy. So, despite the risks of taking Ivy on Chinatown, we are just going to go for it. She is obviously the top of the meta right now. She is a very, very strong hunter. So, not surprised that we're seeing the Ivy here. A bit of a surprise, especially for me, because I was expecting that hermit. I was kind of banking on that hermit, mostly because I did want to see hermit again. But if Ravens is able to utilize the ledges against her, it's going to be very difficult for Maphasy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that really makes for a good sort of response towards their point lead here now that we're moving into round two. I'm really excited for it. I find it kind of like amusing irony in the sense that Bones was talking about Ivy and Dancer at the very beginning of this ban and pick, but I'm happy that we get to be able to see both of them.
Yeah, I'm see both of them, and I'm especially excited to see, how we work with these ledges. How we're
Hmm.
able to kind of maneuver, both of the survivor and the hunter that can't work as well with those levels or can be mind levels. I'm very interested to see because there are areas on the map, especially that small fire escape stairwell in the hotel area where you can mind game the Ivy and force her to leech in a way, send her flying off of the stairs. Like she
Hmm.
won't be able to teleport onto the stairs because of how the tablet will spawn if the survivors are in a certain area, because I think they in a one of the Ivy nerfs they adjusted how she teleports in. I think they like spawned the tablet slightly like a few meters away from the survivor instead of right on top of them. So yeah, we're able, or the survivors are able to kind of mind game the Ivy in that sense. But heading into the spawn picks now, we are going to see them shortly. Okay, here we go.
Okay. All right, it's already something different. I appreciate it, especially with the Ivy lock-in. Oh, okay. I was about to see, I've never seen one like that before, but it does look like we're going to be having our puppeteer out in the open in middle here. Our female dancer is going to be at the hotel, almost at hospital, with our cheerleader close by in the blue lights, and our aeroplanist is going to be spawning in the top corner with the Ivy in the restaurant. So we are going to be moving into the first half of round two. Our Maphasy Hunter up against the Raven Survivors. My name is Mima, and I am with Bones for commentary. Best of luck to both teams.
Yeah, best of luck to both teams. Once again, Maphasy did win round one, so we are looking at a 1-0 score at the moment. Ravens can obviously bring that back heading into this round. And yeah, I mean, anything is on the table. Once again, we are working with best of three, so whichever team wins 2 rounds the fastest is going to be the victor today. But heading into the match here, we're going to see the Ivy Yith heading towards, it looks like we're actually going to head towards Cheerleader here. So Cheerleader is a little bit, I would say, she's a long chase, but with she doesn't have much to work with outside of those dashes but actually leeching onto the female dancer here who already has been able to set up her boxes in the hotel area. This is a very strong loop for her.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially after we've placed down the slow boxes as well. We do have one more to work with, but the Ivy is going to be doing a little bit of a red light trick. Oh, beautiful twirl! Back into another music box as well. So we are going to be seeing the others to get a hit, but the flywheel does get used over here just to avoid that corruption. We are going to have Ivy break the one music box. We still have two more to work with, but oh, we had max corruption on the dancer. We are gonna go down the stairs. Blink is gonna be used to get past the pallet here, but dancer is gonna do a nice twirl outside of the
Yeah, just nowhere for her to run there. That was a very strong mind game though, and we did actually see for just a moment there the way that Ivy is somewhat countered by stairs. When she teleported, dancer actually didn't get any more because she was below the radius. But we are going to Yith onto the cheerleader here, not quite getting that spit. Cheerleader was not looking in the direction of the Yith. But yeah, we are gonna just go ahead and start wide camping with the Yith, actually bringing it back here, looking to camp the chair. It's a little bit unfortunate that the dancer was already Yith here. It is on cooldown, so we won't be able to get the radius directly around the chair. But we do have Puppeteer coming in for the rescue. No Tide Turner here, though. But looks like we are going to be able to... Oh, but eating the Terror Shock there!
yeah, unfortunately, it is gonna put dancer past half. Yeah. Oh, and we are going to be having ooh, that was a close call, but we're gonna get another scare in on this Puppeteer, who is unfortunately going to go down now that Lewis is out of play. And due to the interrupted rescue, dancer is unfortunately going to get sent back to the manor. Oof.
Yeah, really, really strong turnaround there for the Ivy, and that is just how quickly a match against Ivy can snowball because of how
and
powerful she is.
basement's right there!
Yeah, basement right here for that Puppeteer. We do still have Aeroplanus with Tide, and Aeroplanus actually is pretty good at being able to pull off those basement rescues if he's able to aim that jetpack well. So, not the worst situation to be in, but those ciphers are definitely not very healthy right now. 3 ciphers remaining, 2 survivors up on the field. We do have heading in for the rescue. I do hope to see that recharge coming through from the cheerleader. Yep, it does look like we are going to inspire the Aeroplanus. So very nicely done.
Ooh, he made it in.
Cooldown. Yeah, he was able to make it in, and hover still hasn't been used, so he can actually use that to briefly stun the Ivy. Unfortunately, it does look like we are going to stay within the basement, trying to lure Ivy back in, but that is dangerous. She is coming back, and she is going to be able to get that hit in on Aeroplanus. So, yeah, not really worried about the risk of losing the Puppeteer here. We can just go ahead chase after him with Yith. We are going to stay on Aeroplanus, though. It looks like we may have switched targets entirely off the Puppeteer, knowing that he takes a very long time to heal.
Absolutely, and we are going to see that hover to get the Aeroplanus off our second story, but unfortunately, we are going to have Aeroplanus go down right by the basement as well. We aren't gonna... Oh, I think we kind of have to now that dancer did get launched off that chair. And of course, Puppeteer is still in the process of self-healing. Oh, and
yeah, he is able to get that back up, but... Yeah, this is just not a very good situation here for Raven survivors. That Terror Shock really did change a whole lot about this game, because Puppeteer's biggest drop is that he can't heal. He's not capable of healing, so it is difficult for him to be able to bounce back after going in for that rescue, and not having Tide Turner there for the rescue either really did just allow Maphasy Hunter to gain that much more leverage over these survivors. And with nobody really able to comfortably come in and rescue the Aeroplanist, it does look like we're going to be going for the cell unless... Yeah, no, it does look like we're going to go for the cell here. Cheerleader is hard at work decoding, but with that Yith cooldown almost up... Oh, we are going to be able to pop the Cypher first, so we could be looking at a draw, maybe even a solo escape in this situation for Ravens. We are at one Cypher remaining, but... Ivy is very, very good at countering those ciphers, at camping those ciphers. So it's going to be difficult for Raven survivors to manage this, especially with Puppeteer at half health.
Yeah, and it does look like we aren't going to quite have Puppeteer spotted out by this. Oh, but since Puppeteer has since then gone up from the hiding spot, our blood trail is going to reveal the Puppeteer to the Ivy, while Ivy keeps a close eye on this cipher with the Yithian.
Yup, baiting out the blink
Oh,
here, trying to bait the Puppeteer into using that skill, but unfortunately, yeah, Puppeteer is just not going to use that skill. Ivy's going to take the opportunity. He will go down. Unfortunately, with no self-heal either, Cheerleader in the area, 100% on that corruption. She is going to take a hit. Now, she does have both dashes available for use, so we can buy a lot of time like this, but unfortunately, with Puppeteer down on the ground, it does not look like we're going to be able to really make much use of those remaining resources.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to have Cheerleader transition over to the restaurant, of course, with not just the Ivy, but the Yithian involved as well. Uh, it's really a tough situation because although Dungeon is here, you would kind of have to bank for that Puppeteer to bleed out. But we are close to max corruption on this Cheerleader.
Yup, and it is going to go through, but unfortunately just not quite timed in a way that we're able to really take full advantage of it. So we will be buying a little bit more time this way. One dash has been used. Ivy using a little bit of a camera trick here, trying to get closer leader, and also trying to line up for that extra corruption. But actually teleporting to the wrong tablet, and no tablet in the area to teleport back to. That buys a lot of time here for Cheerleader. Yeah, Ivy's not able to leech. That Yith is on a pretty long cooldown here because the tablet was just instated. But we are setting up a sandwich here. Cheerleader actually running directly into Ivy.
Yeah, at this point, Puppeteer is past the halfway point of getting bled out, but Cheerleader at the moment only has one Motivate to work with, and we are going to be utilizing that Motivate to get past the pallets, transitioning to the others, but a charge hit is going to get a Terror Shock onto the Cheerleader.
Yeah, that is a 4-man elimination here for Maphasy. Once again, putting Ravens in that position where they need to be able to get a 4-man elimination in order to keep this matchup alive. So that is very, very tense here. Now, Puppeteer is still on the ground, and we don't quite know where he is, but we are heading right towards his location. And yeah, that is going to be confirmed 4-man elimination here on the side of Maphasy. So another 5 points. And once it the worst case situation here for Maphasy is tying the round and heading into round 3. So we're going to see a little bit of celebration as well from the Ivy. That was very, very well played. And yeah, just very impressive work there. Being able to be even on a map where she does tend to struggle a little bit on.
Yeah, congratulations to Maphasy for the beautiful 4-man. That was a fun match to watch, and despite the limitations of Ivy on a map like Chinatown, we were able to really see just why she's kind of at the top of the meta, uh, even post nerf.
Yeah, it's just very impressive to see, especially since we don't tend to see a lot of Ivy game in this tournament as well, and also just on I feel like on NAU server in general, I tend to not see her as much, is because she is very difficult to play. She is, the reason why we see so much insolence being brought with her is that her early game chase is very weak, as well as having those ledges to deal with, having the levels to deal with, but is still very, very strong. She does have just so much going on in her kit that she's able to utilize in order to just completely dominate the survivors. So yeah, just very, very impressive there, and a good choice, I would say, to not go ahead and ban that Hermit, especially if we were planning to ban Ivy that entire, or planning to play Ivy that entire time. Unfortunately, just not banning the Ivy there. I would say not necessarily a misstep. Banning Opera Singer is still a very, very good choice. She's still very strong. She does still have, even with the amount of nerfs that Opera Singer has gone through, she is still at the top of the meta. So just, a strong hunter just in concept alone, I guess, for both Ivy and Opera Singer. But very well played. And yeah, once again, we are looking at a situation where the best that Ravens can get in this situation is a tie. So if we're looking at a tie situation here, I feel like Ravens is going to have to play it very carefully. That Embalmer is rechargeable. I would say maybe even banning Embalmer out first so that Maphasy is not able to pick the Embalmer at all. Yeah, with Embalmer and Gardener off the table, or if Embalmer is taken off the table at all, because, I mean, first two bans in a match can really go either way. Embalmer, I would say, is definitely not the worst option to ban first here because he tends to be used a little bit as, those first two bans. Okay, actually, we are going to get into the here. Ravens is going to ban the priestess and psychologist. So yeah, with the psychologist ban here, we are thinking about that first chase, not wanting to have a survivor on the table that takes a little bit too much time to to eliminate. And priestess as well is very strong on Chinatown. So not a surprise to see her in that ban slot either. I feel like a priestess ban as well does mean that we're not really looking to counter her. So that does take, I would say, it somewhat takes Wheel off the table because Wheel does counter priestess, but I mean, he's still we could still go with a Wheel if it comes to that. In terms of 4K potential, though, obviously Ivy Opera Singer, we will have to see who Maphasy decides to ban in a very short time. But they could ban anybody, honestly, in this situation. They're in a very comfortable position at this time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm eager to see which hunter they end up banning out as well, especially because we didn't quite see that hermit ban in the previous match. Uh, of course, even if you ban out someone like the hermit, you still have other meta hunters on the table, such as the opera singer and the ivy. And of course, the downside to round two bans is that you only get one. So, kind of like the previous half, we did see one get banned out, so you get the other. It does look like
Yeah.
we are gonna go for the opera singer ban as well.
Yeah, opera singer ban, and it looks like we are going to lock in the antiquarian and the embalmer. So I guess my embalmer senses were correct there. Looking for that embalmer first so that he doesn't get banned out because again, I mean, Maphasy can end it here. They have the chance to just wrap this up very clean in 2-round sweep. So having that embalmer here really does increase the odds of that. They only need one escape here in order to win and continue into next weekend's quarterfinals, I believe. So yeah, a very strong pick there. We're also having that antiquarian. Never a bad thing. Antiquarian is, I would say, one of, if not the strongest harasser at this time. I mean, hunter dependent, obviously. If we do end up going something like a disciple, like another hermit, any of the close range stun hunters, wax artist as well, she can struggle a little bit, but I wouldn't say she's necessarily weak because of the range of that stick. She can actually, get in a couple of last second stuns before getting stunned herself. We are also going to ban the mercenary. I would expect that first officer to be coming in tow, but you never know. We'll see what they decide to lock in.
For sure, there's always the secret third option of Gravekeeper, who we have seen utilized quite a bit. And it does look like we will be getting the Gravekeeper, I believe. And I think it's not so bad for having the Gravekeeper on this map. I mean, even if you do get to be in a position where you have to kite, of course, you still have two shovels to work with, and there's still some areas in which you can have those pallets drop down to sneak underneath as well.
Yeah, Gravekeeper is also a really good counter to Hermit as well as
Mhm.
Disciple. So that's knocking, 200s off the table. Wheel as well. I would say a little bit Wax Artist just because you're not able. Wheel and Wax Artist both, not like hard countered by Gravekeeper, but still definitely countered by Gravekeeper because I do actually believe shoveling removes wax the same as it does with the stun or the cat against Anne. So Gravekeeper is very, very strong in that aspect. Even with only 2 shovels, he did get buffed last year to be able to recharge those shovels or at least save the progress on those shovels. So yeah, very good choice there to have that Gravekeeper instead of even, the first officer, Gravekeeper is very strong. Gravekeeper's also strong against Gamekeeper, which, try saying that 4 times fast, but it's very you know, fun for commentators to try and handle that one. But we are going to ban Patient as our final ban here, not wanting to see any of that, hook action. I would say maybe even locking in something like an Aeroplanist here in response might be a good idea. Aeroplanist, Toy Merchant also still on the table if anybody's interested in having that hotel support. Always good to see a Toy Merchant going unbanned here, especially with Priestess off the table. I feel like Toy Merchant would be strong just to have a little bit more support, as well as being able to bring extra items to the Antiquarian and the Gravekeeper once they're out.
Yeah, definitely. And being able to utilize the catapults, not just for the toy merchant, but for teammates of wanting to transition over to another area, to skip past the open spaces, or potentially having them set up to get up to higher levels, be it the stairs or even the bridge, if you carefully place it down enough. But it does look like we are going to be having Cheerleader locked in as our fourth and final survivor pick.
Yeah, Cheerleader is, as always, very, very strong. And also she does have a lot of teammate support potential that I feel like goes a little bit underappreciated sometimes, just because it is a little bit difficult to pull off. But having a Cheerleader in late game, especially if the survivors have had a lot of momentum, able to manage their ciphers well. There aren't actually, yeah, having the mercenary, or not having the mercenary, having the Gravekeeper instead of a mercenary or a first officer. Gravekeeper does have, at least in early game, has the best decoding. First officer's decoding does get a little bit better once he's used watches, but from the get-go, Gravekeeper does have only a 15% decoding debuff, which does mean that when decoding kicks in, there's no debuff at all. So Gravekeeper is very strong for that cipher rush here, and if they're able to rush their ciphers very well, Cheerleader can come in for that late game support. Antiquarian as well. There's a lot of support potential here. There's a lot of really good just teamwork potential here. Embalmer on the team, always an asset. This is a really strong team, so I'm very excited to see what Ravens decides to answer this with for their hunter pick.
For sure, especially now that we're moving into the second half where they really have to do their best to uh, secure a four-man elimination in order to get to round three.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stakes riding on this hunter pick,
Mhm.
and I feel like Hermit would not be unwelcome. I feel like Hermit would struggle a little bit against this comp just because you do have Gravekeeper can remove his charge pretty much whenever he wants. It does, waste the shovel a little bit, but if you're in a pinch with the Gravekeeper charge, it's possible and it's a lot more accessible than having to go and find a locker and climb into it and then climb out of it and waste all the time with that. Just in and out of the shovel is a much smoother process. So having kind of that extra insurance there with the Gravekeeper, I feel like Wax Artist wouldn't be the worst pick either, just because, even if you do have a little bit to worry about there, he is very strong on Chinatown. He can freeze the Cheerleader as well. Antiquarian also, it does counter Antiquarian because he counters all stunners, as well as having that close range on the Antiquarian. It's definitely possible to stun a Wax Artist, but it is very risky to try and stun a Wax Artist because you need to be so close, and either you're going to get waxed before you're able to stun, or you're going to get waxed through the stun, and nothing's really going to come from it. So yeah, it's a very tense waiting for this hunter pick here.
For sure. I'm looking forward to seeing who they pick. I'm interested in seeing if we're gonna shake things up with our persona webs, because I do believe that in our previous match we saw the embalmer going for the flywheel knee jerk. Of course, it does make sense when you are playing as embalmer, especially in consideration with the win conditions for your team. But uh, since there is that bit of leniency, I'm wondering if we're going to be seeing more of that. Of course, we can definitely anticipate the uh, Gravekeeper being tied, of course, but I've noticed that we're kind of shifting back into like double tide in terms of tournaments. I've been watching a lot of IVS, and I feel somewhat nostalgic seeing team compositions run the double tide.
Yeah, I feel like double tide more than anything. It really just signifies, being cautious of the hunter, not
Hmm.
wanting to take the risk of not having that tide turner because even tide turner is, I feel like, a little bit underappreciated nowadays.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because even if it's a farm, rescuing with tide is just so strong because it gives you a free 20 seconds. And when you put it into, perspective, it takes 60 seconds to not guarantee a tie, but to absolutely increase the chances of a tie, to allow your teammates to cipher rush. 60 seconds is the minimum of time that you need to spend just, running. So
Mhm.
it's having 20 seconds of free time, even if you go down automatically at the end of it, it's not the worst situation to be in. So I would hope that we see, a little bit of double tide here. But for our hunter pick, we are going to be seeing that wax artist. So yeah, I would hope to see double tide here. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see double tide. I would say um we might even be seeing, a little bit of daring build, no borrowed time, flywheel, broken windows, all or no all or nothing with these persona webs.
Yeah, for sure. That would be fun. Uh, we'll just have to see how it goes. I'm really interested in seeing how this wax artist is going to be able to kind of try and get the best possible outcome for the team. I do think that when it comes to the cipher progress, especially if we can hinder that for the Maphasy survivors, it'll definitely increase the odds for our Ravens Hunter here, especially on a map like Chinatown. If they're not careful enough, it's very easy to get caught with pretty unsafe ciphers for your late game, especially if these ciphers so happen to be where uh, not just the wax artist is present, but enough for him to reach. Because even if the wax artist is camping a chair, it's very easy for a wax artist to lock off ciphers with that wax nearby.
Yeah, but we are going to be heading into it now. Oh, and it looks like we are going to have that Logic Path skin on Wax Artist, which I'm very excited to see. It's such a nice skin. I think I talked about it
Mhm.
last time that we got a Wax Artist. Last week there was a Wax Artist playing the skin. Oh no, we're actually going to
Go
go with
back, go
Shower.
back. Shower is good too. I really think that like the royal blue really looks good on him and Christina, of course, but yeah, I definitely
Christina,
really like
Melinda,
the
whatever he's calling her this week.
yeah. True. I really do like the Logic Path skin. I enjoyed the ones coming out lately. I just think blue is a really nice color for skins. Even like
It
regardless of what
is.
um graphics quality you're playing in, just something about it is really striking. But we are going to be moving into our area selection here.
Yeah, and it looks like we are going to be seeing actually full borrowed time on this team. Not really taking any chances here and just get as many survivors out the gate as possible. Flywheel
Mhm.
is going to be on that Antiquarian. We've got Broken Windows on Cheerleader as well as Embalmer, Gravekeeper with that classic Tide Turner. It looks like we're going to
Oh,
go for looking for that cross formation, but oh my god, Hermit.
Hermit
Oh,
on the
Wax
brain.
Artist. I miss him. Wax Artist is going to spawn over in the hotel, so not wanting the survivors to immediately start rotating to that, kind of trying to keep them away.
Mhm.
It looks like that does also, if we are bringing the persona that locks off the cipher, that should lock off the cipher in the upper corner where Antiquarian could rotate to, so that also forces her closer to the hunter. But heading into the second half of round 2, once again, Maphasy only needs a 1 survivor escape in this round in order to win. Ravens needs a 4-man elimination to even continue into the next round. So stakes are high. Once again, I am Bones here with Mima, and best of luck to both teams.
Good luck. So we are gonna start off with placing down the coffin right away.
Yeah, very time for the Embalmer to do that. We do have Wax Artist kind of hot in pursuit. It looks like we're actually going to go ahead and preemptively lock off that Cypher. So really looking to just keep these Cyphers as disruptive as possible. And once again, using the Wax here just to lock off another Cypher in the middle here before even trying to... Oh no, and another Cypher as well! We're going to see Embalmer kind of taking that world tour here. But we're actually going to switch targets onto the Antiquarian.
For sure. And at this point, since the Embalmer did rotate into the Antiquarian, I do believe we are going to be getting a hold of that appearance. But continuing the kite here, Antiquarian is going to go for the... oh, we're not going to go up the stairs. Instead, we are going to be utilizing the flute. Really nice jump over the pallet here, forcing to break. Oh, a nice stun. Oh, it's a stun for stun.
Stun for stun here, and that's actually doing a really good job of just keeping the heat off of Antiquarian for long enough. We have resummoned the coffin. I do wonder if that's going to be used to... Yup, that is going to be used to embalm the Antiquarian. Very nicely done there from Maphasy survivors. We're going to hit that 100% waxed, and that will be our first basic hit. That is actually running insolence as well as trump card, so no detention on this wax artist. We're really taking a risk here. Trying to go as aggressive as possible, but with the second 100% wax here, that will be Antiquarian down, but we do have that coffin in play, and it looks like we're just going to go ahead and activate it straight away.
Alright, it does look like we're going to go back to Wax Artist blocking off ciphers as we continue our pursuit to the Antiquarian here, who has been rebirthed in the hotel second story.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate here that, you know, peepers instead of warp or something that would allow to get across the map faster, but we are still at 5 ciphers remaining, so not that much progress has been lost, but it does look like we aren't quite able to find the Antiquarian. We're going to see a little bit of a red light trick here, trying to hide away from that Embalmer here, but yeah, it looks like Embalmer will be taking this chase with Antiquarian hiding out inside the hotel, but Wax Artist has lost sight of her, so Embalmer getting the wax here, no flywheel in play. We will be seeing a first basic hit. 72% wax here does mean that we should be seeing a freeze pretty soon. If we're able to land it off.
Yeah, really good call. Oh, we're gonna miss the hot wax! But it was a good call to block off both windows and force Embalmer back to the stairs. We are gonna get the hot wax on Embalmer to get him down. But our cipher progress does look to be like we are going to be seeing some pops before Embalmer gets to the chair.
Yeah, and heading for this middle chair here, or this middle chair to disrupt the cheerleader's decoding as well. Will she be able to finish the cipher before it's locked off? No! That cipher has been disrupted, and we're going to see the peepers as well coming in. Honestly, really well done of Wax Artist to keep the survivors on their toes this much. That was a very long road to our first chair, but technically Antiquarian has also been shared. We are going to have that Gravekeeper with the no damage rescue though.
Yes, and we're gonna switch targets onto this cheerleader. Oh, unfortunately the hot wax is going to get blocked off by the little hotel, or not hotel, it was like a restaurant.
The roof
regardless, yeah, the roof. That's the word in English. Okay, but we are going to commit to this chase on the cheerleader, getting cheerleader down right by the cipher as well.
Oh, and a coffin coming through right at the last second. I heard that Embalmer, the coffin go off, and I was like, is he going to embalm in time? But right as the cheerleader is about to get picked up, we're going to see that coffin come into play. And it looks like we're actually going to go ahead and switch to warp. Unfortunately, a little bit of misaim on that warp. We won't be getting right on top of the cheerleader, but still able to catch up to her. She does have this hotel loop to work with, but it looks like, yeah, no cheers, unfortunately, so she will be hit right out of that. Ciphers are looking really good, though. We've got 75% on that cipher Embalmer is working on, as well as only 2 ciphers remaining. But we're actually going to leave cheerleader alone, looking to lock off that final cipher here. It's very risky to try and overextend like this, but it is, you know, what Wax Artist kind of has to do here in order to keep, or at least look for that 4K trajectory.
Now we are on the Gravekeeper, but we do have 2 shovels to work with. We're going to utilize one. Oh, but we're going to see that shovel take away that wax, but in turn tank the hit.
Using the map against Wax Artist there as well. The wax all hitting that pole is very well done by these survivors here. Oh, we're going to but the stun actually taking that damage to the Gravekeeper despite a very well-timed pallet stun. We're going to see that shovel coming through at the perfect time once again. Gravekeeper just wasting enough time here for Cheerleader actually get healed all the way back up. This is huge for Maphasy survivors.
Yeah, and it does look like our Embalmer is going to be getting fully healed as well. Our Antiquarian is working on a different cipher now that the Gravekeeper is going to be chaired.
Yeah, we're still at 2 ciphers remaining, but yeah, 83%
They're
on
all
that.
here.
Very strong cipher progress here. And ugh,
Nice
yeah, it
wax
really is
off.
going to come down to kind of the wax conservation in these final moments. We're working at about 200% wax here, but yeah, it goes down very quickly, as you can see.
Sure, and we do have 2 survivors over here. We're gonna hot wax the cheerleader to double down, or to double hit her, but our embalmer does get a rescue in on the gravekeeper.
Oh, and this is so risky. Those ciphers are so close to popping, and we are at 1 cipher remaining. Cheerleader is going to head towards a chair here. We've got 48% on the cipher Embalmer is working on, but yeah, we are cipher locked to this area. So if Wax Artist is able to keep up this pressure, it looks like we have been able to wax off both of these ciphers here. Looking for the cipher close as well. This is just so tense. Are we going to be able to keep these ciphers locked for as long as it takes for at least Cheerleader to take off? But we're still working with no detention, so this is still just such a dangerous situation for the Wax Artist.
Oh,
Double
Antiquarian
down
is gonna get
here.
hit through the pallet, and we're gonna lock off the cipher that Gravekeeper is working on. This is going to be... Oh, it's Embalmer getting chaired first, who is gonna be on his second chair. Okay.
Just so tense in this end
You're
game
right.
of the match. If they're able to get these ciphers decoded, I mean, if they're able to make it to the cipher pop, I feel like there's very little chance for a Wax Artist to bring it back because he has no detention, and all
we
the
are
survivors
gonna
have
get
borrowed
that
time.
coffin in. Yeah, I heard the sound too this time around. And Antiquarian did exert that exit path, but Wax Artist is diligently going to lock off the ciphers. We're gonna go for a terror shock on the Antiquarian, who does have the coffin.
Yeah, there's pretty much no way to avoid that
my
Antiquarian coming back. We are
goodness.
going to see the Cypher pop as well, and even with Gravekeeper taking that damage, unfortunately not able to get anybody down except for the Antiquarian. Antiquarian will be down here.
Yeah,
She
it's sent
is
back to the
dead on
manor,
chair.
but yeah, and she doesn't have her exit path either. I'm surprised we're gonna go for the chair now that we have all 3 survivors left up. We're at different gates here spread out, and Gravekeeper is just about to open the gate, and it does look like
Was
it's
the
gonna
gate open?
open. Oh!
Oh no!
Oh
Yeah, that is over, unfortunately. Yeah, once that Cypher pop hit, it was going to be very, very difficult to bring that back. And that is going to be a very round win here for Maphasy. Just so well done there on both the Hunter side. Just, you know, really dominating this matchup. But great gameplay from Ravens here. It's very sad to see them exiting the tournament. They are, you know, a team that's pretty much a pretty much mainstay in NAAU circles. But you
Absolutely.
know, to both teams for playing today. And just for such a great matchup, you know, both me and Mima were looking for that high-paced, high-intensity matchup today, and that was absolutely just so tense there in those final moments. Just very well done.
Yeah, I was at the edge of my seat for the whole thing. Oh my goodness. I felt like I was almost at a loss for words, which is really hard to to do for me, but that was really intense from start to finish. I think the whole bracket was, and although it's sad to see Ravens go in this tournament, it's always a pleasure to watch their gameplay, and I appreciate the time and effort that's being put in by our participants here, especially in consideration of our time zone differences. Shout out to our staff as well as our audience members for kicking off this next weekend in our tournament. It's been a lot of fun, and uh, big congratulations to Maphasy as well. It's really awesome to be able to watch these hunters and these survivors really work so well for one another and really give us the best that they can and put their best foot forward with the circumstances given.
Yeah, that is going to be our final match for today, but we have plenty of matches coming up for the rest of this weekend. Tomorrow we have 3 matches. We're going to have Omni versus Sky 7 coming